Oh, well, it's a good thing, John, that you're introducing and I'm going first.
John just needed to rev up. Well,
Well, I'm not sure if that's a car or a very angry dog.
This is the podcast now. It's a very revved up dog, is what it is.
That's how
You wind the tail up and let him go.
Shifting into podcast.
That's what I call a Range Rover. Anyway, no.
Fact versus fiction.
Does he like Judas?
Tonight, Matthew, I'm going to be the Zodiac Killer.
You've got the shovel. Go on, Trooper.
Child abandonment is a fun plot device.
Back away, I've got a circle of sin and I'm not afraid to use it.
He's a drug dealer. Oh, no, wait, no, it's worse. He's a theatre major.
It's not awful so far.
Yes, welcome to Fact versus Fiction, where the facts are facts and the fiction's awful. I know, I love it, it's fine.
Is this really where I'm cutting in? Okay.
No, it's lovely, I do love it.
No preamble, just blunt statement.
I mean, you did it. You broke our podcast down to its bare essentials.
Yeah.
Well, the facts happened and fiction is crap.
I almost said fiction is diction to like rhyme, but I was like, no, that doesn't work. I just go awful. This week it is a fact week again, and I'm obviously John, and joining me for this nonsense today is my co-host Matt.
Is it going to be nonsense, John? I can make it non-nonsense. I could make it.
You're not capable.
Oh.
After the vampire episode, that wasn't even last week. That wasn't even last week.
It was factual. Shush.
Last week was Napoleon, so.
What is wrong with the vampire episode? Doesn't matter.
Well, we won't talk
Nothing's
about
wrong. It was just questionable whether vampires were involved.
Well, it was the content. You know what? It doesn't matter.
It's called the Great Vampire Panic.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
My facts are always factual, and I will have no argument.
This man knows everything about Charles de Gaulle, and I will not have you besmirch him.
I miss the French Commune.
Also joining me this week is Corby, who just loves the French.
Aye, I do. And VTubers. There aren't any connections, though.
Wait, what the fuck's a VTuber?
A VTuber is a streamer that, instead of having their webcam in the corner, they are an anime girl.
Oh, civilization's doomed.
I mean, you say that.
You can balk him. Anyway.
He gets it! He gets it!
The amount of respect I had for you was minimal to begin with, and now it's non-existent.
For who? Me?
Well, one of you. Take your pick.
Anyway.
He never respected me, John. That's the difference. I know where I stand.
I respect, but I understand. And also along with this, just put up with this, is my other good friend, Tom. The only one I describe as a friend, not a co-host. Just realised that.
He's my good friend. He does not.
I have achieved friend status. Hello, I am an avid fan of anagrams and an avid hater of the Avid editing software.
Oh yeah, they all fucking suck, don't they? Oops, you've lost all your progress because of something. We're sorry.
I generally thought you wanted to say anime and just misspoke and said anagrams instead. I was like, I thought he's just rolling with it.
That would be a first for anyone to misspeak anime as anagram. They're quite different.
Give it like 5 minutes of a whiskey, Matt. Don't know. It's
I mean, I've got no whiskey.
Don't you?
No, I drank it all last night.
Anyway.
Of
The amount
course.
acceptance in my tone then. Just I don't know why I was so ready to believe. Anyway.
Who really needs help, listeners? The correct answer is you at home listening to this podcast.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. No, you've got issues. Anyway, Matt will be leading us into this podcast this week. But before that, I was about to say a hyperbole. No, a hypothetical.
I've got hyperbole for you.
I love the hyperbole.
It's one up from the
It's like
Super
the
Bowl.
Super Bowl,
So
but faster.
It's not like this film.
Then there's the
That's
Uber
Huey
Bowl
Bowl.
afterwards.
it's like the Super Bowl, except every turnover lasts 2 minutes as opposed to.
I know, a second.
Well, people say the hyperbole is better, but they are just exaggerating.
Way.
Anyway,
Anyway, my hypothetical this week is if you could pick any conspiracy theory in the world and have some genius somewhat magic it to be 100% true, and actually we get proof and say, oh yeah, this is right, lads. Sorry, what would it be?
don't you fucking say lizard people.
I'm not. No, that's awful.
I love the emotion of, oh yeah, this is right, lads. Sorry. It's like
When
to the
you
scientific community at large. Just, oh yeah, sorry.
Oh, by
lads.
the way, my
Turns out it
B,
was
this
this.
is real.
when you say conspiracy theories,
Like,
I'm
Well,
googling
we're
a list of
talking
them as we
UFOs,
speak.
we're talking
Yeah.
Bigfoot, we're talking nonsense like that. Flat Earth, if you want, I don't care.
you know what? I'm gonna say flat Earth just so give the flat Earthers a win. Nah.
I'm gonna say
Dude, good of light, they need this.
I'm a big fan of. There are various theories as to why we haven't found extraterrestrial intelligent life. I'm a big fan of the theory that is all other life has us in like a dome and they're watching us like the Truman Show.
I will
As a
say,
social
I really like
experiment.
you know that we've sent messages out to space that are basically just
yeah,
like
they're on Voyager.
the kind of thing where it's like, hey, this is where we are on the various in the various galactic map, and also it's just a picture of two naked humans. That sounds like a desperate couple trying to swing, and I think all the other aliens in the world has gone, we don't want nothing to do with that. Sorry, mate. You keep
Why?
it.
That is the world's.
It's sent us
that
a
is-
semen probe.
That's
We've
the
literally-
world's most high-aiming dick pic in the universe.
Yeah, no, we've literally said, like, we've literally done the whole thing of like horny singles in your area, but to space. And
We've sent out essentially a Craigslist ad.
hey,
Just
I
into the
live here.
universe, and everybody's gone no.
We live here, and we'll stick anything in anything. It's basically what we've done.
That is pretty much humans in a nutshell.
Yeah, it is. I'm not saying it's not wrong, but I'm saying it might be why things are avoiding us. It's just like, yeah, no. I
I
don't
quite
want
like
anything.
Roswell to be true.
Is it bad that I've gone to a list of conspiracy theories and the first one under the section titled Ethnicity, Race and Religion is
No,
anti-Semitism?
No. Let all that. You've ruined it. You spoiled it. This is fun and whimsical. And you made it wrong.
Conspiracy theories aren't fun and whimsical, John. I don't know what to tell you according to this Wikipedia article I'm looking at.
Some of them are.
It was fun and whimsical till you opened Wikipedia, Corby.
I was like, what good conspiracy theories are there? And now I'm just depressed.
You never
you're
start
I think
on
the
what
ultimate
to
conspiracy theory is the concept that someone can be truly happy. Sorry, did I just lower the tone? Or have I-
aim.
Podcast.
No.
The mood of the podcast just dropped. We were at 10.
Wow.
Corby's just shot John in the foot and brought us to -4.
Well,
It's like some sort of like horrible. Hey, have you been to the Holocaust yet? No.
hey guys, life's shit.
You still haven't picked yours, Corby. You've just said
No,
everything.
Lifetime happiness, it's a myth, people. It doesn't exist, but it should.
Oh.
It does, but only if you get a lobotomy. Anyway,
Are you okay, Corby?
Life's a simulation.
It's a good thing what
This
I'm
week
talking
I've-
about this week is relatively
This week I've been replaced by an angsty droid. I'm sorry.
That's you, though. I can't tell the difference.
why was I programmed to feel sad?
okay, that one's the real Corby.
No, oh my.
Friend
Yeah,
Tom, how did you pick me out of this lineup?
If I could pick a conspiracy theory to be real, what I'd love to do is I'd love to have this like stately kind of US kind of sheriff, big mustache stuff, come out onto a stage in front of a press conference and just go, well, we're very sorry, people, but it turns out that Bigfoot is not real. However, we do have one hell of a werewolf problem. like, I love that to be it.
And then just proceeds to transform on stage.
Yep.
Is that just what furries are? They're actually people who are werewolves and they wear the fursuits to hide the werewolf transformation.
Doesn't work though, does it? Let's be real.
Unless the werewolves happen to have like neon fur.
Just cyberpunk werewolves.
Is that why, like, every
Hey,
time someone
I'm
takes a
not
picture of
disparaging
something...
cyberpunk werewolves. That sounds fucking awesome.
I was gonna say,
Neon,
is
though.
that why someone takes a picture of, like, something weird on the side of the road? It's always, like, fucking overexposed, because they've all got neon fur.
All the neon fur and...
I will. Who did the bloody Bro the Beast thing has written more books since then, and the podcast listened to not that's say Among Us, no, bloody Astonishing Legends actually interviewed her. I was like, oh god, stop listening partway through because it was nuts. But anyway, when you said neon there, Tom, because we haven't been talking about furries and like instantly in my mind a flashing neon sign that just went Otterkin shut up. I genuinely. And I had a visceral reaction to that, like this neon sign. I was like, ugh, keep the mustelids out of this. They're innocent. And that was the end of the hypothetical. Matt, what are you talking about this week?
Because, believe me, I'll find a way to make it nihilistic after that fucking opening.
Shut up, Nietzsche.
I was about to say that.
I just want to give a quick congratulations to the listeners who've stuck with us thus far this episode.
I'm sorry the fiction lads are determined to sabotage us.
I mean, I'm sure they'll have an easy time with what I'm covering.
Is it Napoleon Part 2, or are we waiting on that?
It's not Napoleon Part 2. It's,
is it Napoleon Part 3?
Yes, the Part 2 is coming as DLC later. Join Patreon to hear Part 2.
Napoleon 2, redacted.
No,
we don't know what Napoleon did, but we do know what he did after that bit, so...
Do know who he did.
Did he have any children?
Yes, that was weird.
Hilariously camp.
Matt turning his section into a musical number this week.
I can't wait to hear an entire musical fact section, Hamilton style.
Man, the rush of it's going to get dark.
Okay. Well, this week, me and John decided we would try and feed it around a similar time frame. So I believe we're doing World War II this week. Not all of it, parts and bits and bobs.
There's a lot to it.
We're hopping back to it.
I did say I missed the French. I did say at the start of this episode I missed the French Commune. I'm
afraid the French will not be involved.
That makes a change.
A bit like World War II.
Wow.
Sorry. No, they were very.
Is this just the how many people can we piss off episode?
Clearly.
You started it.
So.
I think we started it by just hosting a podcast.
Shush. I'm going to begin with my words now.
You started. You invaded Poland. Sorry.
Disclaimer: that's a Faulty Towers reference.
It is. Corby did not invade Poland.
All right.
As far as we know.
There are many famous events of World War II, along with many famous people. Some get a lot of coverage and attention, like the Battle of Midway and the Normandy landings.
Some of which we've
Mad
covered.
Jack Churchill, the Mad Lads and the Bastards, everybody knows about. The war was fought on land, air, and sea, and I'm going to take you to a very specific event. On February 14th, 1939, the German battleship Bismarck was completed. It was one of 2 Bismarck-class battleships named after the Chancellor of German Unification, Otto von Bismarck. Who would have guessed?
Happy Valentine's.
It was the Valentine's Day gift to Hitler. I love your Mein Führer, beholds the battleships.
Oh. Took me a second to remember the date. I thought it was some sort of reference to the band. I was just searching desperately through my catalogue in my mind. I was like, no, just trying to find something.
The Bismarck weighed over 41,700 tons, so it was a big boy, and that was when it was dry.
A hefty lad.
And it was 24 meters in length, so big chonking ship.
Please
big
don't
boy.
describe the Bismarck as big and chonking. I know where this is
chonker of
going.
war.
Hecking chonker of a warship.
Big chonky floaty boy.
I hate
Oh
it all.
Lord, he coming.
The Bismarck would soon be the main target of the Royal Navy, and pretty much all of the time the Bismarck was in service, the Royal Navy were chasing it, trying to get rid of it, because they weren't very happy that Hitler had a new toy. Probably shouldn't describe the biggest battleship of the time as a toy.
Also,
I mean, he would have. So yeah.
also, I don't know how it's gonna go over, but I don't know whether to censor the word Hitler and put in the phrase "man with the funny mustache" instead.
Yes.
Like
in a proper monotone voice.
The man with the funny mustache.
Do you want to cut away for this? Man with the funny mustache. Does that work?
It might be.
It's gonna be seamless.
You are highly overestimating my will and/or ability to edit.
You know.
Oh. So in the Bismarck's first outing, on one of her many outings, she battled the Prince of Wales, the battleship, not the person.
Man versus boat!
And I believe...
Who was the Prince of Wales at the time?
I believe, although someone may correct me on this if I'm wrong, the Bismarck also sunk the Hood, HMS Hood.
I think so.
During one of the confrontations, which was like the Royal Navy's flagship at the time. So
Definitely did
out and
battle
about, blowing stuff up with its big old guns.
Guns blazing.
Basically, it was the main objective of the Royal Navy to get rid of this big ship as fast as possible. And the Bismarck was not actually to have as much of an impact as the Germans hoped, as it was sunk by the Royal Navy off the coast of France on May 27th, 1941.
Yeah.
Only 115 of her crew survived. The British sent crew from their ships to rescue those German survivors. And a few hours later, they had all but one, whom was floating nearby balanced on a wooden plank. Oscar was freed that day by the British sailors, who adopted him into their crew. My question to you is this. Just who or what was Oscar?
I know.
I think I know the answer to this.
Of course Tom knows.
Yeah, I think I've heard this before. So let's throw it over to Corby.
It's not me. It's not me telling the thing.
I'm waiting for someone to say
I
something.
mean, to guess, because I know what it is.
It's directed at all of you.
He's a cat, God damn it!
It's a fucking... It is indeed.
Is it? Oh, I was thinking of a different story. I was thinking of the time there was. I was thinking of the time there was a bear in the army.
No, we'll get to that later, Tom.
Is this just the British menagerie? Is that what we're covering today?
Just like I'm talking about the British menagerie. Specifically, pets in the British Army. So, Oscar was a black and white patched cat who was one of the few animals to serve in... In fact, one of the only animals that I could find to serve in both the Kriegsmarine and the Royal Navy during World War II. I say serve. He didn't fire the gun.
Yeah, I'm gonna say...
Do anything.
Oscar, pass me the next round of ammo. Meow.
Yeah. Well, this was...
God damn it, Oscar!
The Brave Day Lad campaign where cats had opposable thumbs, so... It was a different time for cats.
God damn it, Oscar! Stop licking your balls while on service.
Commander! Commander! Wow! Commander!
Wow.
Oscar's original name is unfortunately unknown, but he would soon earn a nickname, Unsinkable Sam. I'll let you guess why.
He floats.
Because he didn't sink. Wait, why Oscar then? Where did that come from?
I will tell you why Oscar at the end.
Okay.
So, after surviving the sinking of the Bismarck, Oscar was taken in by the crew of the HMS Cossack, who was one of the ships that helped sink the Bismarck. Or as I've written here, the Big B.
It starts with a C, though, you cretin.
The Big B was sunk in the Big C.
When you
the
say
Bismarck's
the Big B, I
thought you meant the Cossack was the Big B.
I am imagining a gigantic insect.
I was about to say the Big C sounds a bit suggestive.
The intro to the Bee movie is going through our mind. That no one knows how a bee can fly. That nonsense is going through my head at the moment.
Instead of thinking bee, it's sinking bee.
Exactly. So yes, HMS Cossack was one of the ships that helped sink the Bismarck. Oscar spent several months aboard, enjoying treats, petting, and frequent Mediterranean sunbeams, while the Cossack performed convoy duty in and around the Med and the North Atlantic. So the Cossack went all over the place, and a lot of what the British were doing for most of 1941, because there wasn't a lot of land action going on, was basically screwing around with their navy and protecting their ships from U-boats.
It's all we had.
All we had.
Screwing around with the Navy for stopping U-boats. I think they're justified a bit.
I mean, they did some stuff.
Yeah.
We'll leave it at that, because that's not what we're talking about today. Oscar proved to be very popular and even considered to be quite lucky. He proved to, unfortunately for HMS Cossack, she did not share Oscar's nickname. On October 24th, 1941, she was severely damaged by torpedoes delivered from U-563, which makes it sound like it gifted them as a present.
That sounds like a
Happy
uranium
Valentine's!
murdered him.
John, none of the spy bollocks.
Okay.
You said something about delivering uranium, and my brain was
it sounded
like
like uranium because it was you said U-54 whatever the hell.
oh, it sounds like an isotope. Yeah.
Gotcha,
Yeah.
And I thought you were making a reference to that bloke who found radioactive material in his tea.
No, that's polonium. It's fine.
Anyway, away from assassination was definitely not conducted by the Russian government.
Oh,
Oh,
we
well,
totally
no.
did it.
This ain't getting played in Russia.
Much of the crew were safely transferred to HMS Legion, but the Cossacks sank properly on October 27th after several rescue attempts. The initial explosion obliterated a full 1/3 of HMS Cossack's fore section, so pretty much the entirety of the front of the ship was destroyed. It killed 159 crew. It was rumoured that Oscar had been seen basking on the front end when it happened, and many feared he was dead. At least they did, until they found him miraculously uninjured, once again floating on a plank of wood.
You know what I call that? Sabotage, the German bastard.
I was going to float the theory that this is an inside job and Oscar is perpetrating this. Why would he be on the prow? Else as a signal to the enemy ship.
He's got a homing beacon on his bloody collar. That's what's going on. They're using it to track enemy ships.
I also have a great image of like when the torpedo hits, where he's like laying on the thing. It's just a piece of wood with him on it, just flies up and he just stays laying there, like in the cartoons.
Like his neck, like almost like his nailed down. He just flies off and just lands.
He just like rolls over.
The ship is sinking, he just raises a paw and sticks the middle paw finger upon.
I thought he just meant raise the paw, as in like.
No!
As a salute.
What, towards the U-boat?
He's German.
Well, I couldn't find any theories on whether Oscar was a double agent, but it's
You
up
didn't
for
look
debate.
hard enough.
It's up for well, nobody suspects the cat, you know? That's why the Americans picked the cat for their project.
Yeah,
Nobody
Not everything's just black and white. Although this cat is black and white.
He knew his allegiances and he would never change.
Stop saying black and white cat, because it just gives the Postman Pat theme in my head like with a vengeance. And now it's got a funky Russian dance beat in the back, and it's horrifying. Early in the morning. It's like, no.
After a couple of days ashore in Gibraltar, where the governor gave him his eponymous nickname, Unsinkable Sam found himself transferred to HMS Ark Royal, the Royal Navy's, which was the Royal Navy's top aircraft carrier at the time. Coincidentally, a key ship in sinking the Bismarck.
Well, yeah, because it's like Bismarck's just like, well, I really hope they don't have any aircraft. We've got some anti-aircraft guns, but it'll be fine. And then Royal Navy bombers just go nyum.
They don't have any engine sound. That's just the pilots. Nyum.
Can you imagine just a World War II flying that's just going fucking nyum? Does it go?
Do you reckon that's what the Night Witches did when they turned their planes off?
Jenkins, can you turn your radio off? Please don't be a bother. Oh, sorry, sir.
I say, why aren't you nyumming? That's against regulations.
Why is he northern? Why did he slip it northern at the end?
Oh, no.
It's against regulations, you wee Now get back in mine.
Start now, and or I'll send you back to Coal, man.
Please don't make me fly. Please don't make me fly. I'm not flight sergeant. It reminds me of the darkness of man. Pickaxe won't fit in cockpit. But anyway,
So, many people were quite happy that Unsinkable Sam had been transferred to HMS Ark Royal. He was a lucky cat, and HMS Ark Royal was considered a lucky ship. It survived several numerous near misses.
I'm thinking repelling magnets.
Yeah, luck doesn't stack, unfortunately.
It also been reported.
Cancel out.
It also been reported as sunk by the Germans on multiple occasions. So people were like, "It'll be fine." Oscar settled in comfortably to his massive new home, exploring the lower decks and sleeping in the cockpits of her Swordfish torpedo bomber complement. At least until HMS Ark Royal was torpedoed on November 14th, about 2 and a bit weeks later. So he was there for 2 weeks, and then HMS Ark Royal gets sunk.
Told you, home beacon in the collar. But
yeah, double agent.
I will say, just the idea of someone taking off from an aircraft carrier and like flying some maneuvers, and suddenly the cat just being flung around the cockpit. It's like, oh god, that's in here. Well, I guess we're just gonna have to deal with this until we land.
That's really bad because swordfishes are open cockpits.
They are. They are. They're just hanging onto. I've seen actually a bloody cat hanging onto a hang like a.
Oh shit! No, I've seen that as well. Like it's inside the hang glider.
Yeah. The powered hang glider, and just they see the guy notice it, just go, oh, just like yeah.
I mean, it's terrifying enough when your cat's got all your curtains and it looks terrified. So
he's just gripping onto the side of a wing.
It might just be my cat. He realizes he's got halfway up something and then realizes he can't commit to the bit. So
I wonder if him being up in the swordfish just created the legend of gremlins. It's just a cat tearing apart while you're playing because it's panicking.
Oh yeah, HMS Ark Royal was hit by a torpedo from U-81 about 30 miles from Gibraltar, so not like literally outside the port. It's Geoffrey Spicer Simpson all over again, where it eventually rolled onto its side and sank.
Hopefully with less ineptitude.
Motor launchers were immediately sent out, and they managed to save all but one of the crew. Unsinkable Sam was fine. They found him again floating on a fucking wooden board.
Okay, we're 3 for 3 now. That's a pattern.
It's getting to the point.
This is more fuel to the theory that Sam is causing this.
When they rescued the board, they realised it wasn't actually a board from the Ark Royal, and it had 3 scratches in it.
I was gonna commit the theory that it's like, well, cats have 9 lives, and he keeps falling at sea, so maybe that one is dead and it's just on its next life and coming back.
It comes back, it respawns on a floating.
Yeah.
God.
We'll see if he gets hit
6 more times.
Well,
but he's only allowed to come back 5.
When they found Unsinkable Sam, the men who found him described him as angry, but quite unharmed.
That sounds like every cat in existence.
He was furious, but he tolerated our presence. I think I love him. Every cat
owner. I assume he was wet, and that was why he was pissed off.
He just wanted to stop having his fucking boats blown up.
Well,
wouldn't you be pissed off?
Blowing holes in my ship.
The Navy decided to end Oscar's career at this point. Whether that's because they didn't want him to die, they thought he was.
They fired him,
or maybe he was unlucky.
No, they advised him to retire, Tom.
Yes, it was an honourable discharge.
I generally thought you were about to say, didn't they decide to end Oscar's life at this?
After they found him fiddling with torpedo munitions.
While licking his balls.
Just with his... How? Is he tapping it in with his lower legs while he licked his asshole?
He licked his balls and licked the torpedo. It's useless now. We can't touch that.
No, can't touch that. Oscar's been rubbing on it. Oscar's been rubbing the torpedo. He's sleeping on it. We can't fire it.
Gonna throw the aerodynamics right off.
Commander, we can't fire the torpedoes. Oscar's in the tube and he's too cute to move.
You know what he's doing. Brave soldier. Fire one through 4.
His main role was distracting the crew while they were in intense situations by meowing and purring around their legs and generally getting under their feet.
Look, I'm not gonna lie. If I was on duty and I was not expecting the cat to be there, I would probably drop the torpedo thing I was trying to load.
I like to think just a massive fucking torpedo just hold up just one end of it, and the cat just dung, just drop it, and just stare at the cat. And then someone says, "Corby, what you do?" And they turn and look at the cat, and then they drop their end because they're staring at the cat.
Just like, cute. It's a genetically engineered cat by the Germans to be so cute.
With hypnotic gaze, apparently.
Is that Corby's conspiracy theory? He wants to be real.
This is the one you want to be real.
Hans, we have done it. We have made the cutest cat.
I mean, to be fair, that is basically eternal happiness.
Oh. Unfortunately, this is all speculation. I cannot confirm nor deny if this was real.
Oh,
not something
stuff,
that's out what we discussed.
For a moment, I thought your whole story up till now
The
was
whole thing was made up, Tom.
speculation.
Yeah.
So
Continue.
Sam, Unsinkable Sam Oscar, spent a bit more time in Gibraltar, and then was moved back to the UK and lived out his days in luxury in a seaman's home in Belfast, which is a home for sailors. So presumably like an open house or something.
I like that he spent a bit of time in Gibraltar, like he was just on holiday. He's just, go check out the local
Find out how long
markets,
he's
have
spent
some
there.
of the local cuisine.
Just bit of Gibraltar tagine, lovely.
To be fair, Gibraltar is nice that time of year.
It is.
It's nice
Gibraltar's
every
nice
time of year because that's just how it is on the European mainland.
So Oscar passed away in comfort in 1955. No more records of ships going down with him on board. That I could find.
What about
because he wasn't on any more ships.
Exactly, they knew.
He couldn't send the signals.
I bet they were really concerned when they had to send him to Belfast. It's like, well, how the fuck did they get him there without something going down?
They had to send him by plane.
There was
That's
a
even
very
riskier, surely.
Very mysterious torpedo strike on an old seaman's home.
Because this home's in the middle of a landlocked area of the country and it's been hit by a torpedo.
In the centre of Belfast.
Well,
It's really weird, this one guy's house just sunk into the ocean.
Then the land reformed over it. We don't know where it's gone.
Curse your merciful Poseidon.
So there is actually a portrait of Oscar by an artist called Georgina Shaw Bulber, I think, which is in the National Maritime Museum in Greenwich.
Georgina Shaw Baker.
That's it, Baker. Yeah.
Can one of you please put it in the Discord so I can show the people at home? Provided they've stuck with us.
I'm currently imagining Knife Cat based on the theory that he's a double agent.
So I will say that some people do dispute this as being an actual thing because the weather when the Bismarck was sunk was pretty bad, and their basic theory is that nobody would have stopped to have saved the cat because the weather was bad. I disagree.
They're underestimating how cute the Germans engineered him to be.
I'm gonna be real. I'm gonna say I'm gonna be real. I'd have saved the cat before the rest of the German crew.
Oh yeah, that's like number one.
There is. I will say there's plenty of evidence though to validate the story, and I for one like to think it is actually true.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I looked into it a long time ago, and it was like they're fairly damn certain the one that I was on the Cossack and the Ark Royal was the same cat, and that definitely survived both.
Yeah.
The bit about the Bismarck simply because they'd only got reports about the cat after it happened, and a lot of people who were there didn't know about it and stuff like that. So it's one of those.
To answer really a question,
you can believe it, you cannot. It's one of those things, but definitely the last
true.
two.
Silence, John. It's come from my mouth.
I don't want to lie to people.
It's come from my mouth on a fact week, thus it's true. And to answer Tom's question, the name Oscar is derived from the International Code of Signals for man overboard. So that's why his name's Oscar.
I'm not gonna lie, I've just googled a picture, and this cat looks like he has seen some shit. To be fair,
Yeah, I think it's the white mark on his nose. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's a cat with survivor's guilt if I've ever seen it.
Those eyes to me say, "I did what had to be done."
I served my country with pride.
I mean, the one of one of the sailors holding him up into the air like it was the Lion King is also great. But hold on, I'm gonna put that
Oh, that
one in.
lad. Yeah, no, he's good.
I'm just putting it in just so I have reference for the podcast when I actually edit.
It's
Oh god, it's the bear. Look at it, yeah.
Any torpedo boats?
No, he's good.
Well, as Tom also correctly guessed earlier, I'm also going to bring you another story today. The story of the arguably very well known of Poland's fighting bear Wojtek.
Yes.
That's
who
right.
is quite possibly one of my favourite World War II stories.
Well, that bit, I just love that, how everyone disagrees. Yes, there was a bear
It was just
in
a bear.
World War II, and everyone loved him, and he loved everyone. The Germans.
Unlike the last time we talked about bears on this podcast,
I'm finding some Warhammer connections suddenly.
What, Unthinkable Sam or Wojtek?
The bear in the army hating the Germans. And just in this comparison, Poland is the Kislev nation, not Russia.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, that's how it is in bloody.
In the early years of the war, many of the reformed units of the Polish army passed through the USSR and found themselves stationed in Allied territories. In Allied territory.
The Allied territories.
I never read about the Allied Terriers in the books. I didn't know they served as well.
Oh, they were rough.
The British Terrier Division.
So they found themselves in Allied territory in Syria and Iran. The Polish Second Corps was one of these units. And in spring of 1942, many of them were formed, including the Second Corps, many of the Polish units were formed as what was known as the Anders Army, which was essentially the entirety of the remaining Polish armed forces in the east. And amongst the many civilian refugees that were with them was one called Irene Bakigabababada. I'm just going to call her Irene.
Put it in the Discord and we can all have a go.
Yeah, I can't read what I wrote, so...
Oh.
Let's call her Irene. Coincidentally, she was the niece of one of the famous Polish general, or the Great Niece. And she spotted a lone Syrian brown bear cub on at a railway station in Hamadan, which is
just waiting for a train.
Waiting for it was in Paddington. She kidnapped Paddington.
Kidnapped Paddington Bear? Was it to go here? Did she take Paddington Bear to war?
Was the bear in a red hat and a blue waistcoat?
I didn't know Paddington served.
He did his time.
Well, we know what Tom's photoshopping for this half of the
Yeah. Oh, Paddington went to war. Well, unfortunately, this poor cub's mother had recently been killed, and it was looking like he wasn't going to last very long, because the people who had him weren't going to look after him, they'd only found him, and they didn't have, because it was a war, they didn't have the money, or the resources to look after a cub. So she, Irene, encouraged a lieutenant in the Second Corps to buy him from the family. And then the bear spent the next 3 months in her care. And then in August 1942, he was donated to the transport arm of the 22nd Artillery.
Yeah.
The men quickly took to him, eventually basically taking him everywhere with him, and he basically became the unofficial mascot. They dubbed him Wojtek, which means happy warrior, due to his good-natured temperament. Poor Wojtek initially had trouble swallowing solid food because he was still a cub. So technically, he should have still been suckling. I hate that word. He should have been, words.
I will say before I go too much on, because it's Polish, it's pronounced Wojtek.
Is it Wojtek?
It is Wojtek, yeah.
Ah, well, sorry, Poland.
It's fine.
Oh yeah, if it starts with a W, then yeah.
Also, imagine being guilt-tripped into adopting a bear.
Yeah.
That's great.
Well,
there's worse things.
I
would say there's worse things to be guilt-tripped into buying. Let's be real.
No, exactly. I'd love the bear. It would murder me, but I'd love the bear.
It's without I don't want to insult anyone, but it's very Eastern European to do that.
What? No, I get
buy
that.
a bear.
It does fit with certain stereotypes.
Yeah.
Yes, I understand that. Yeah.
Well, to get around the problem that what was it? What do you say? How do you pronounce it, John?
Wojtek.
Wojtek.
The problem that Wojtek wasn't able to eat solid foods initially. They fed him condensed milk from an old vodka bottle, which may be where he got his love for alcohol.
You will grow strong, just like the
You grow strong, baby Wojtek.
Wait a minute. This bear's an alcoholic as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Eventually. Oh fucking hell, John! I cannot remember.
Void.
Rhymes with boy, rhymes with
Wojtek,
technology.
right.
Yeah, Wojtek, yeah.
Wojtek. Eventually, Wojtek began eating predominantly fruit and marmalade, honey and syrup, and even being
Marmalade.
He is secretly Paddington Bear, and even being given beer as a reward. So they were at this point they were basically training him, and so they would give him like sweet stuff and beer as rewards. Beer was allegedly Wojtek's favorite, and when a bottle ran dry, he would firstly lick it clean before holding it up to look inside as if he didn't know that the beer had run out. So he was wondering where it had gone.
That is so cute.
Yeah.
I kind of do that at night. So I was like, I hope it's not empty. Oh, it is empty. And just like,
We've all been there.
yes.
Does the thing where he like turns it upside down and shakes it as well, just to make sure.
Yeah. Oh, he didn't do that to beer.
Are you into men?
So he would often join. This is something I really do like. He would often join the men for grenade practice, and he would chase after what they threw because they would use oranges as grenades.
Thank God.
I mean, that's still a bad thing to train him to do.
Imagine being a German, just did like some sort of almost like
Orange
trench
land
somewhere,
on you.
and just like
So
and just like
initially,
They just said like the
initially when
thudding
you said
of
he joined them
running.
from grenade practice, I was imagining Wojtek alongside the soldiers, just pulling the pin out and lobbing a grenade. And then you said he went and chased them, and I was like, oh no!
this is awful.
Like imagining a soldier throwing the grenade, and then he goes off chasing it, and they're like, oh shit!
Tom
No,
went on,
Wojtek, don't!
Tom went on a real roller coaster
And
of
then you-
emotions there.
Like, I was very relieved to hear that they were actually oranges and not grenades.
You need a moment, Tom.
I experienced several emotions in quicker succession than I usually experience emotions.
So Wojtek also had a penchant for cigarettes, eating and smoking them alongside the men. He drank coffee in the mornings, and he would keep the men warm on cold Syrian nights, wrestling with them, and even picking up new recruits by the ankles and shaking them before pretending to eat them.
Is that pretending? Is that pretending?
They managed to do it so they could pick. I don't know if anyone's ever been picked up by their ankles. I've been picked up by my ankles before, and it's an interesting sensation. Have I not told you the story? Okay, I'm going to tangent. Corby probably knows about it.
I've heard this story.
So we were playing D&D at uni, and
No,
I don't think because you weren't in for this session, Corby.
No, but you've told me the story.
Yeah, and I can't remember how we got to. I basically told one of my friends at the time, Tara. I just said to her, "You can pick me up by my feet." I doubt you could pick me up by my feet. So she stood on a sofa, so she was high up, and then literally picked me up by my feet, and then shook me. It was a very weird sensation. But it is quite going back to Wojtek. It was made as a joke. They trained him to do it basically.
This picture in Discord is actually adorable.
He was very good natured and just cute and adorable. Friendly bear.
Yeah, he's a good boy. He's a good
If
lad.
you were one of the new recruits who had the joke being eaten done to you, though, you'd probably always have a little suspicion.
What if he was gonna eat me?
No, because it's just like, well,
Sat
it
there
the images
afterwards
of the
being like,
guys.
"What?" Sat there afterwards being like, "Was I one of the lucky ones?" Or
Yeah,
how
I would
many
just love the
recruits do you
idea
go
that it
through?
berets or cloves next to it. And those are the recruits he ate.
also, that man's socks. I don't know what's going on there, but
Oh my god. Oh, you know what they'll be, Corby? They'll be
Keep the sand out, I
either
guess.
socks or they'll be wrapping to keep the sand out.
ah,
Finland
okay,
and Syria don't.
yeah.
Looks like wrapping. It looks like it's going
just
over
to
the shoe.
ramp up the cuteness factor a little bit more. They actually taught him how to salute. So when they saluted, when someone saluted, he would salute back to them.
God, this whole story is great about Wojtek.
In fact, they also, not only that, he eventually, because they got him so young, he started mimicking them when they were marching, and he would march with them on his hind legs. Because I think they only got him when he was a couple of months old. So just anyone casual observer to the column marching would suddenly see a bear marching on its hind legs next to the troops.
I didn't know we were expecting special forces.
That would be a double take moment.
I feel like Wojtek just had the time of his life, because on occasion he would show his crafty side and he would break into the camp's commercial showers and he would turn them on. And he caused several water shortages because the water was rationed, and he just broke in and just turned them on and just showered.
What? So we're out of water again. What happened? Bear shower.
Well, the brass decided it was best not to reprimand the bear, so he was never called out for it. Just like, the bear got in the showers. Oh dear.
Oh, God, it's rationed, so you might just eat someone is the issue.
Everybody loved him, so nobody really did anything about it.
Well, yeah, you can't bitch about it. I mean, look at him. It's fucking horrible.
So Wojtek became their unofficial mascot and travelled with the 22nd Artillery through Iraq, Syria, Palestine, and Egypt, as I said, often marching on his hind legs. However, in 1944, the Polish Second Corps and Wojtek's unit was merged into British 8th Army in preparation for the Italian campaign.
I love the idea the Brits. I love the idea the Brits turned up and they were like, "Excuse me, what the fuck is this?"
Well, mascots weren't allowed, so they prepped to say goodbye to their beloved Wojtek until someone came up with the bright idea to enlist him as a private in the army.
He's not a mascot if he's enlisted.
His paperwork got through, and he was given. Yes. He was added as a private. He was listed in the soldiers' ranks as Wojtek. As Private Wojtek. He got his own paybook, serial number, rank, and dog tags. And he would live with the soldiers in their tent or in a special wooden crate that they constructed that they would transport him around with a truck. And when he wasn't up to just like his old tricks pissing about, he would carry the soldiers' rations and subtly help himself to any when people weren't looking. Oh yeah, this bear's run out for breaking into the water showers area and eating all the oranges and grape patches. Let's give him the food.
I like the idea of, well, at least then he can't mob you for it. He's just got it anyway. But I like the idea of like why are my rations mission? Just this bear with like shifty eyes, just looking left and right.
Well, so Wojtek's finest hour came during the Italian campaign at the pivotal Battle of Monte Cassino, but he didn't rush into the fighting. Instead, he mimicked those around him, carrying 100-pound crates, which are about 45 kilograms, holding 25-pound artillery shells that were designed to be carried by 4 men by himself, and just stacked them where needed. And he didn't drop a single crate, apparently. So just over the course of this, I'm pretty sure Monte Cassino was multiple days of hard fighting. He was just carrying artillery shells.
Monte Cassino was awful.
And, officers would see this, would just a quote of seeing this bear carrying artillery shells and thinking it was the damnedest thing. Didn't do anything about it.
Yeah.
The pack bear cometh.
I like how that kind of generated controversy. Like people are like, oh no, a bear couldn't possibly do that. And there's definitely one account of a soldier just going, a British soldier just going, oh no, there was a bear carrying ammo. Ammo. He was there, and everyone's like, oh, huh. I saw it. Oh,
imagine if the Italians saw that and had to report back to what they were thinking.
The Allies are using bears.
Yeah. So the Allies have a bear that they're using to carry their ammo.
Is this a new kind of tank you're talking about that they've called a bear?
No.
Not exactly.
It's a big hairy man.
It's a real bear.
Well, the higher-ups were so impressed that they promptly promoted Wojtek to the rank of corporal, which technically made him, or put him in charge of men lower than him in the unit. So they were technically, the commanding NCO was technically a bear.
one unit could pretty much get away with it. It's just like, oh, you're gonna have to report to Corporal Wojtek. Who's that? Oh.
So popular was Wojtek, and so like memorable was what he did that the Allied generals, who he was basically a celebrity among them, basically allowed the second artillery company to have a bear carrying artillery shells as their official emblem. So you can find that emblem online. It is just a bear holding an artillery shell.
Nice.
So as the war wound down, Wojtek was transferred to the Winsfield-on-Sunwick airfield, which is somewhere in Scotland, and until de-escalation in 1947. During this time, he was made an honorary member of the Polish-Scottish Association.
I know it's not the case. I have a great image of a bear trying to fly a plane in aviator goggles.
It's tailspin. So in 1947, Wojtek was adopted by the Edinburgh Zoo, where he lived happily until December 1963, still eating cigarettes and drinking beer. He died at the age of 21. He was 35 stone, or 220 kilograms.
I'm not surprised with how much he apparently ate and drank.
He was a big fucking
Absolute unit.
There you go.
Absolute honky boy. And just a few quick facts. He was apparently a regular Blue Peter guest. Like, they kept, like, they must have, like, every couple of months they would go to Edinburgh Zoo and they would feature Wojtek on Blue Peter.
That makes more sense than him coming to the Blue Peter studio.
Guest on the show.
Just in the Blue Peter set, then there's like, and now we have our special guest, Wojtek, and it's just a bear with like a glass in one hand and a fag in the other.
I was imagining that, but because I could only remember the people who did Blue Peter when I was a kid, I was imagining it having a chat with Matt Baker.
God.
Have you seen there's an Eric Andre bit on his show where he invites a live bear onto the stage? It's very funny. It's about 20 seconds because he quickly decides it's a good idea to abandon this bit and run away from the stage.
Yeah, no shit.
But yeah.
So there are quite a few more memorials to Wojtek. There's one at the Imperial War Museum. There's one in Krakow, and there's also one in Edinburgh. And my favourite thing that I found out, Wojtek has a documentary on him, and it's called Wojtek, the Bear That Went to War, and it is narrated by none other than Brian Blessed, which is the perfect person to narrate that documentary.
Nice.
Wojtek!
He achieved the rank of corporal!
Why? I thought you were going to go to Boss Nass for a second. I thought you were just going.
I mean, to be fair, that's also a very Brian Blessed noise.
It is a very Brian Blessed noise.
I'm just sticking images of him in the
But
chat.
those are just some of the famous animals that served in World War II.
I love the story of Wojtek. It's so beautiful and
Wojtek
it's
is one of my
wonderful.
favourite World War II stories.
I love this last image you've just put in, and I have a great thing of like, we need to report to the corporal. What's he doing? Oh, he's just wrestling with the upper.
That just said it was play wrestling by with a former. What I love about because I think there's a plaque about him in Edinburgh Zoo. It does mention that he was visited by former Polish soldiers from his regiment, and he's chucking cigarettes and stuff to eat. He fucking loved it. And everyone's like, "Please don't feed the bear." It's like, "Shut up! He's a veteran."
Imagine like being like a kid or like just a regular citizen at Edinburgh Zoo, and you just see a bunch of soldiers turn up and start yelling at the bear like they know it and chucking cigarettes at it.
Just fucking
cheering.
Bears just saluting back. What the fuck's going on here?
That was a fun day at the petting zoo.
God, yeah, there's memorials to him everywhere. I love every one of them. Although I'll say one in Scotland looks very suspect. I'll put pictures of that up there. All of them are beautiful, except that one just kind of weirds me out. Don't know what it is. Something about that face.
Let's say it's the face.
It's kind of weird.
It looks too much
I
like
think
a man.
it's the ammunition also that is being held.
It's the facial expression. That one's more Paddington than the rest.
It's like Winnie Pooh gone wrong. Anyway, that was great, Matt.
Tom, where are you taking us?
Excellent.
Well, I'm taking us straight back into World War II. I'm sorry. The nukes have launched. No, anyway. No. What I'm talking about today is a particular American pilot. Let me just get my thing back up because I was looking at who was, well, his name is Charles Carpenter, if anyone knows him.
I might.
I don't believe so.
No?
Not
Okay.
Personally.
He, I don't personally. No, he was basically, he was a U.S. Army officer, and he was an Army observation pilot, so he, when he joined, let me just find this thing where he joined up. He joined up and fought for World War II, and as a second lieutenant, because he went through the officer training thing, and therefore he wasn't kind of stuck 100% on the front line, so to speak. He was put with an artillery reconnaissance unit, and he basically flew the reconnaissance plane to actually radio in positions of where to aim the damn bombs and the shells. He did this in this tiny little plane, which I'll get a picture of.
Is it just me, or does John sound like he's underwater?
It does sound like he's underwater.
A little bit.
Any better?
I assume that might just be on my
That's
end.
better. I don't know what happened.
That was better.
That's weird. I say he flew this tiny little plane that you can see it in the Discord now, which is a
Oh yeah.
also there was civilian known as a Piper J3 Cub, but they called it an L4 Grasshopper in there.
I was going to say it. I was going to say, is that a grasshopper?
Yeah,
I would call it a spaffy,
these.
based on
Okay.
the fact that that word is written on it.
I don't
Like
like the
designation
word
on the tail.
spaffy.
Flight
SP
Spaffy, you're inbound at the
Dash
airfield.
AFY.
But these were not very fast planes at all. I think like they tend to be about, like, if they really pushed it, they could get about, I think it's like 85 miles an hour. It's a really damn slow.
Turn like a brick.
They weren't that great. They were really reliable to fly. They were great trainers because they were very good at staying up in the air. And this was
That is what you want from
They
a
something
plane.
like-
performed their primary
No, I mean
function
like,
with
yeah, when only carrying the pilot, the L4 had a top speed of 85 miles an hour, or 130 kilometers an hour. But the thing is, because of its construction, because it wasn't all metal or anything like that, it was
I was like partially wood and like fiberglass or whatever.
yeah, and like, but because of that, it could basically, if you shot at it a lot, it wouldn't really lose altitude that much, because it.
What are you going to say if you shot it a lot?
No,
It would crash.
No,
yes,
because
John, obviously.
it's a very light aircraft, which means that obviously if basically a couple bullets in it, it will still fly fine.
Yeah.
Unlike say a Spitfire or something like that, because it's a lot heavier plane. The problem is that means that there's only so much you can carry on this. Like, I think, including the pilot, let's see, I love it. A stall speed of 38 miles per hour. So if you went over 38 miles per hour, you technically could still fly, which is awful. Yeah, a cruise speed of 70 miles. But yeah, it was. So it was very light. I think maybe like it only had like a weight of. I think you could maybe only chuck another 256 pounds on it, not including the pilot. So if you carried a passenger, obviously you're going quite slowly. And if you wanted all the equipment you needed for radio and the like, you probably wouldn't get a passenger going very fast in it. You probably would be going about 50 miles an hour. But the problem with this is, Charles Carpenter was a very impatient man, because he kept on seeing these various tanks and the like say Panzers and stuff out when he was flying, and the artillery crew.
What front was he on, by the way?
Oh, this was bloody France, I believe. Let's see. He was ranking. He was with the assigned to combat duty in France with the 1st Bombardment Division in 1944. And so he was part of bloody Patton's U.S. Third Army.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, this tiny little unarmored fabric covered plane. It was
more than a match for the German Messerschmitts.
Yeah, here we go. It had a weight capacity of approximately 232 pounds if you count the 150-pound pilot in as well. It was
more or less safe than a Night Witch's plane.
But yeah, so he was basically flying reconnaissance missions on enemy armor and the like. But the problem was, oftentimes he'd be in a position where he'd see it, he'd radio it in, and the artillery would be in a position where they couldn't hit it.
Yeah,
and this just frustrated him, because he is in a completely unarmed plane. He can't do anything.
Tell me he starts dropping bricks.
No, it gets better than that. See, there was the thing that other L4 pilots had done at the time, which they'd started attaching M1 bazookas to their planes.
Oh my god!
Just in case, so they could defend themselves in case.
Just in case
Just in case bazooka. No, it's
as good as
I'm
reason.
glad you said attached, because if you hadn't, I would have just imagined him like sliding a bazooka out from the sides of the seat.
over his shoulder, just leaning over.
Just pull. He doesn't have a passenger, so he just pulls it off the back of the seat behind him.
You just see one of them there's like a hard bank, and you just see a bazooka fly out the side. Oh, shit.
No,
oh no, the British are coming.
it's definitely American here, but he's seen other pilots do this, other L4 pilots particularly, and he decided, okay, I'm going to give this a go, and he was assisted by an ordnance technician, as well as some support from the 9th Air Force Service Command, and he attached 2 M1 bazookas to the underwing struts of his L4, so which he then named Rosie the Rocketeer after oh god, which is great because that was named after the bloody what was it, Rosie the Riveter, which is like a kind of like it was a whole like
it was that famous image of the isn't that the woman with the arm doing like the
I think that's technically one of them, yeah. It's one of those kind of things where it's like this stereotype of women in the work in the factory stuff in America,
the we can do it thing.
Yeah, that kind of thing. And he
it's literally that one, yeah.
He did some experimenting with these M1 rocket launchers, and
how did he get them to fire?
Well, he managed to. I'll tell you what he did. He decided that 2 weren't enough, and he ended up adding 2 more, and then another 2 for a total of 6 bazookas on this.
So he essentially created his own homemade rockets on his grass.
Yeah, because other L4 pilots had done this, but not to this extent, and so he got an order.
He was a pioneer.
Because he was a major at this point, so basically the problem is he probably could just get some poor technician just like, hey, you, boy, attach rockets to my plane. Okay, sir, fine. But he just out 4 of the outboard of the struts there on the plane. But they had a battery igniter and a toggle lanyard control operated from the cockpit.
In English.
So
he had a button.
Toggle lanyard from the cockpit, so he could activate each of them from the cockpit individually, which is nice. But the thing is, the M1 bazooka it's about 54 inches long. This fairly big, and it's unloaded weight of about 5.9 kilograms, 6 kilograms. But these so his original armament had 6 of these, and they each fired an M6 anti-tank rocket, and these had a heat warhead on them, and that could penetrate about 3 inches or 76 millimeters of armor.
Oh, shit! So it can go through like the sides of most of the tanks.
Most tanks, but obviously, but wait, John, there are tanks with better. There are German tanks with better armor out there. What possibly could he do to deal with those? Now, you see what he did is he figured out that, well, the armor's weak on top, right?
I was going to say, sure, the frontal armor of like a Tiger tank and the sides is like 100 mil thick. The roof is.
So the
roof and the back are normally the squishy parts.
Exactly. The points which you can't shoot on a flat level.
No, and obviously most of the time the top of the tank is flat, so that's quite an advancement. He took up the manner of plunging fire, where he basically dive bomb a tank, fire off one of his bazookas, and then turn away at the last minute. All at quite slow speeds, you have to remember.
Oh, sorry.
It's like he'll get there eventually, lads.
Oh no! The Americans, they are coming quickly. We have about 5
Surely
minutes.
if he's doing a plunging tactic, that's the only time he gets faster.
Yeah,
he's got gravity on his side.
That's the thing.
He gets above 100 miles an hour.
Probably, but that's the thing.
He comes in quick and goes out slow.
For comparison, these planes could do 137 kilometers an hour, 85 miles an hour. A Spitfire, if it dived, could reach 450 kilometers an hour. Like, this is such a slow plane comparison. But the thing is, so most tanks this could immobilize it fairly well, or at least
if you shoot a bazooka through the roof.
Yeah, because even if it didn't destroy the tank, obviously it panicked the crew enough for they to run away.
I imagine it fucking shreds up the interior.
Yeah. I will say these definitely. I will say these bazookas had a theoretical range of about 500 yards, so 457 meters. Carpenter didn't like that. Carpenter preferred to fire his rockets from about 100 yards or less. So he's like, Yeah,
He
so
likes
he,
the Germans to actually be able to hear him going, yeah.
Yeah, that's him, not the plane. He's making the sound effect as he goes down.
That's
actually
not.
open air almost, isn't it? It's
I
not,
think we
it's
got
like-
lost somewhere in misinterpretation. That's actually just him jeering at the Germans as he goes. Yeah, guy.
Yeah. This'll
What is
teach
he,
ya.
a farmer or something?
This is like, oh god, like this man is pretty much the anti-Joseph Biley, but still on the same side. Like, oh god. But yeah, so he, thus armed, Carpenter then took it upon himself to go and attack German armed forces.
As you do.
Now he flew most of his ground attack missions alone, just because a passenger would have slowed him down so much.
Then get loaded into the bazooka.
I've already loaded up with the equipment of the bazookas. If I get you on board, we're not going to make it above 50. Like that kind of thing.
At that point, the plane's not even going to be able to fly. At that point, so
Yeah, he did take a passengers along on some sorties, and he basically said, "Okay, yeah, no, it's so slow that they are firing at me, and I'm really less likely to hit because I've got a dodge fire in."
I might actually get shot.
Yeah. But yeah, his usual routine was to spot a target in altitude, spiral down before diving slowly towards the enemy tank or other objective. So he, within a few weeks of doing this, setting up with 6 of them, he was credited with knocking out a German armoured car and 4 tanks, including 2 Tiger 1s, which are
Damn.
fairly important
That's
tanks.
impressive.
Yeah, he was then started being called Bazooka Charlie by his unit, and also known as the Mad Major. You have to remember,
The Mad
That's a good
Major,
nickname.
yeah.
this is an officer doing this. This isn't just. He started getting put on all the newspapers, and just he was massive press coverage back home, just like, yes, this artillery reconnaissance man has decided to blow up Tigers. And he ended up Major Carpenter ended up serving as the personal pilot for U.S. Army General John S. Wood. He was the commanding general of the U.S. 4th Armored Division, so fairly big.
So the Mad Major was the pilot for an important higher up.
Yeah.
I'm assuming he didn't transport him in the grasshopper.
I hope not. It doesn't say.
Yes, General.
Or
Sorry,
if it-
there's an armored car down there. I'm just going to take my bazookas for a spin.
if he did, he never did it more than once.
But he lucked out a bit because he was technically a personal pilot for a while, as well as having quite a good higher service rank because he was the mate to murder. This basically meant he could avoid most of the artillery spotting missions from this point onward. So it left him a lot of time just to wage his one-man war.
Just to his one-man tank.
Yeah, just he did.
Where's the Major? Oh, you know, he's around.
There he goes. Very slowly. The
Oh,
DeLorean.
look, I can see him on the horizon. He'll be here in roughly 4 hours.
He'll be back when he needs more bazooka ammo.
He, on one occasion near this, he took part in ground combat. On occasion near this place called Avalanches in France, he was scouring advanced landing fields in a jeep because he still had to do the artillery liaison nonsense. And when German forces attacked his position, he climbed aboard a neighbouring Sherman tank and took charge of the 50 cal machine gun and just started gunning them down while calling for everyone to attack. So he's a bit of a he's probably
A little bit of I wonder if any of the tank
Matt
shrapnel
referenced
slipped
Mad
away.
Lads earlier in the episode.
So led by tank fire from the Sherman, the American forces drove the Germans back. He got a bit too eager though, because they eventually ran to friendly forces, and he didn't realize they were friendly, and he fired on a Sherman bulldozer tank, and he blew off the bulldozer blade of it.
Oh my god!
Fucking fire! No, he got way too eager. This did lead to a slight that obviously was a friendly fire incident. He was placed under arrest.
No.
And he was actually threatened with a firing squad. Until his commanding general came to him to assistance. He was told straight away to expect a court-martial for his actions, because even though he helped to defend, at the same point he did shoot a friendly tank with another tank.
How much did he shoot it to blow the bulldozer front off?
I assume he hit it right on the joint. I don't know.
Otherwise, he was probably shooting it for a good 30 seconds.
I don't.
That's probably why they had to.
the funny
That's
thing-
probably why they had to like marshal him, because if you had to shoot it for like 30 seconds, you got to sit there and think, there's no way that's an accident. If you're sat there, got 30 seconds just hell bent on shooting whatever comes near you.
apologise. The Mad Major had the bloodlust in his eyes. No. But the thing is, he was told to expect a court-martial and saved from the firing squad for that by his command officer. But then the whole decision to discipline him was reversed. It turns out that General Patton himself had heard about this and gone, no, don't do that. He stopped the court-martial, give him a Silver Star for bravery. And
Of course.
there's a quote from Patton that actually says about Carmody, he was the kind of fighting man he wanted in his army.
I want the maddest bastards.
If you don't know, Patton himself was, I think it's fair enough to say a bit of a nutcase. Effective nutcase, but a bit of a nutcase. Anyway, he after this he did a lot less ground combat and just basically decided to spend most of his time upgrading Rosie the Rocketeer.
They basically say to him, just you stay with Rosie, we'll
Go
deal
near
with
a
the
tank
tanks.
and we'll hit you with your bloody grasshopper. Yeah.
The Major's coming, quickly get the tanks out of here. That goes for both sides now.
Yeah. He eventually continued to improve the armament on Rosie. He sold 6 improved Type M9 bazookas, which was using M6A3 heat rockets, which could penetrate 99mm of armor instead of 3.9 inches instead of bloody.
Every tank.
How much did that cripple? How much did that cripple his top speed by?
I don't know, but he must have been slow as hell. I doubt he must have been topping 60, 65. It must have been awful. But this meant, of course, even heavy German tanks like King Tigers were susceptible because they only had 40 or 45mm armor at the top.
And obviously, who's going to look directly up in a tank? You're looking out for things on the ground.
Yeah.
Surely you can't.
Yeah.
I'm sure they could use their, they could look up with their heads.
I know, but there's nothing you can do while you do that.
No,
I don't know. The gun elevation on the tank might be good enough if you spot it early enough.
It's not a machine gun. It is an unarmored, very slow-moving target.
There must be accounts in the war.
I will admit, if that's the case, then I'm surprised he lasted as long as he did.
He's not dead.
But I will say with these upgraded ones, he got an upgraded electrical switch too, which meant he could either fire them all separately or all at once if he chose. Which I'm not sure what's the place when necessitates all 6 could go.
I don't know if I'd love or hate to be the engineer that designed that for him.
He did tell a reporter because he wasn't getting interviewed just because he was basically, a flying ace with bazookas, pretty much. I mean, why can't you love that? But he was told a reporter that his advantage for fighting the war is to attack, and then attack again, which is cool.
I mean, I can't fault his logic.
I can't fault that.
That is, I think, the base of combat.
If you were to
Generally,
break it out
the idea.
its basic level, then yes.
Yes. It did say on his first couple of sorties with this plane that he most of the time faced very little resistance from the ground because most of the time the Germans wouldn't. They were reluctant to fire on the unarmored artillery spotting planes because they, as they doing so, would give away the position if they hadn't seen them and cause them just to probably cause the parts to straight away call in artillery support.
Little did they know that it was actually six bazookas flying at them as opposed to a plane.
And
no one expects the Mad Major.
Yeah, here we go. And moreover, as long as the pilot gas tank or engine was not hit, most small arms fire would not bring down an L4 since the plane has such a light wing loading, which is an excessive. We see a lot of surface area for its weight. Because it was so light, it's just not going to come down. But the problem is, because his bazooka attacks got more and more well known, Germans took more and more offense to artillery planes flying near them, and just eventually just started unloading them with everything they got. And it got to the point where German infantry would join in and trying to down him with rifles and machine pistols, just trying desperately to get him out of the air. He did say on one mission, as Carter banked steeply around a tall tree in order to get a bazooka shot at a German tank.
How is the tree?
He's banking around the trees.
Also, how does that thing bank effectively?
I don't know.
How do you bank with 6 bazookas?
With care.
He just fired them.
Also, if he's that low to the floor, he doesn't have a lot of time to fucking dive.
No, he
just tilts the plane slightly, shoots them, and then leaves.
Yeah, typical image of Rosie Riveteer. But yeah, But the problem is he banked around this to get a bazooka shot at a German tank. Just a whole group of German infantrymen just unloaded on him with machine pistols, which meant he had to bank around another tree to get out, just like slaloming.
At this point, I'm
forest.
imagining like that scene in the second Johnny English movie where he's flying the helicopter along the road. I'm just imagining that he's using the grass.
I was
Yes.
I was honestly imagining the scene from A Close Shave from Wallace and Gromit.
Yes.
Oh.
He managed to escape unharmed, but he had several 9mm bullet holes in one wing. So he hit it. Yeah. He later told the Stars and Stripes that the quote, "Word must be getting around to watch out for cubs with bazookas on them. Every time I show up now, they shoot with everything they have. Never used to bother cubs. Bazookas must be bothering them a bit." I can't feel there's a slight smug smile at the last sentence.
Must be the bazookas.
Now we get to
The only thing I can think of.
Must be bothering him.
We get to Charles Carpenter's most famous hour at this point. September 20th, 1944, during the Battle of Aracourt near Nancy, France, which basically German armored forces launched a massive sudden tank attack on the headquarter components of the 4th Armored Division's Combat Command A. And they pinned down several Armored Division support units. So Carpenter has had enough of this. He took to the air with his Armadale 4. It took him a while to actually spot anything because there was a massive heavy fog. So
Well, you said to us to get in the air because he was slow.
so heavy, like, come on!
I mean, yes, but at this point that goes without saying.
Just he's
Yeah, a couple of privates are pushing him to get him off the ground.
Yes, we're sending the Mad Major in. He'll be there in about 3 hours.
Can you hold out for a day?
No, there was massively heavy fog, so he couldn't find anyone. About noon, it began to lift, and then at which point Carpenter spotted a company of German Panthers and armoured cars advancing towards Aracourt. So he died for a barrage of ground fire from these bastards in a continued series of attacks against the German formation. He fired all of his rockets, went back to reload, came back. Flew 2 more sorties that afternoon, and he fired no fewer than 16 rockets at the advancing enemy in total. He was credited in battle with immobilizing 2 German tanks, several armored cars, and killed or wounded a dozen or more enemy soldiers just in this little reconnaissance plane. And they do believe that also his attacks forced the Panther tanks and the remaining Panther tanks in the formation to retreat. So
Just in case he came back.
just like he's not stopping that. He's so slow. It's like imagine it's like trying to swat a fly in your room and you just can't quite get it. It's like peace.
I'm imagining more like It Follows, but in the plane.
It Follows had bazookas.
So he managed
If It
to.
Follows had bazookas and was also airborne.
He himself actually managed to save a trapped 4th Armoured Waterpoint support crew. Who they watched it. They watched the whole thing unfold. Another quote from him again. "Some people around here think I'm nuts," Major Carpenter's quote is saying. "But I believe that if we're going to fight a war, we have to get on with it with 60 minutes an hour and 24 hours a day." That'd be bad if I said 60 hours an hour.
60 hours an hour? Fucking hell.
He's busy.
And you thought you worked bad overtime.
An Associated Press report in Liberty Magazine 1945 summed up saying that the Major was a legend in an outfit where reckless bravery is commonplace. So it's like,
Sounds like a light novel title.
Yeah.
that was a bit. Anyway, by the end of the war, Major Carpenter destroyed several German armored cars, knocked out 14 German tanks, officially destroyed 6 of them, including 2 Tiger 1s, and participated in several ground combat actions. Never took any injuries from any of this. Got away scot-free. So he also got called another nickname, the Lucky Major. He's acquiring nicknames as fast as he's acquiring tank kills. He got promoted to Lieutenant Colonel and awarded the Silver Star with Oak Leaf Cluster, Bronze Star, Air Medal with Oak Leaf Cluster, pretty much everything you get. That was basically the end of his war career. Because he eventually got.
Tell me he went on to be a barnstormer or something.
No, he didn't live that long afterwards. He died in 1953 because in 1945 he got diagnosed with Hodgkin's disease. Unfortunately,
Shit.
so he told me he had 2 years.
He lived 10 more.
He lived 8 more, yeah. And he basically went back to work as a history teacher in Illinois.
Wait, he was a history teacher before the war.
yeah. And
let me teach you a thing or two about history, kids.
I forgot to say. Yeah, he was a history teacher before he joined up, and he did have a kid as well, and married. Yeah, all in this. I love where you graduated from. Rock Island High School. That sounds like such a fake high school in like a TV
sounds like
series.
a high school that would
That
be
sounds like a sequel to School of Rock that never got made.
But yeah, no. Anyway, but yeah, that's the story of. It wasn't a particularly long one, but that's the story of Bazooka Charlie, and I just really enjoyed him. Here's a picture of him next to his plane. It's not a massive one.
Oh my god! I wasn't expecting him to be slung like that.
I thought you said hung.
How did he aim them?
Hung and slung.
Yeah. I think this is another picture of him. With said bazooka.
I've griped about this before, but the people watching the podcast will either have like really shitty resolution on these, or the pictures will be tiny, and we can't do anything about that. My apologies.
So far, looking on YouTube, the pictures seem to be doing okay. Yeah. But yeah, there we go. That's him. It's a load of bloody bazooka, which is
just loading my bazooka.
I love the idea that he's doing that mid-flight and he's just gotten out of the pilot seat just along the wing.
Walking.
Yeah, that's 100 feet up.
Or was that why he originally brought passengers so they could load the bazookas in flight? What they don't tell you is he took several casualties.
Hold hands back, like 4 bazookas. Oh no!
Oh. Well, the plane is moving slowly enough that he has time to just step out and load it up while it's going.
He's just trying to keep it flying straight. He's using his other foot just to like steer the plane.
Oh yeah, they
Does he just set up another complicated series of wires that allows him to pilot it while not looking?
He pioneered autopilot.
Yeah.
I don't think Americans actually really liked the actual slow speed of the L4 because it was if you were lots of little roads in between damn like hedgerows and stuff, give you a lot of time to see that. Oh yeah, it's definitely a panther as you go over.
As you truck past at like 40 miles an hour.
Assuming you make it back, yes.
There must have been biplanes faster than this thing.
Oh, probably. Yeah. I think
anyway.
I was thinking like maybe the Flying Jenny is slower than it.
Actually, I don't think much. But yes, that's the story of Charles Carpenter, the Mad Major, and Bazooka Charlie. He's just a very interesting fellow. I just want to talk about him. I felt bad for him because I found out about him after Joseph Byerly. I'm like, I really hope that wasn't interlinked at any point.
Yeah.
Well, that's great.
That was great. I loved his little quotes he was giving to the papers.
Yeah,
it just must be bothering him.
Like,
bothering them a bit. Yeah.
Oh. Well, I guess that wraps us up for this week.
It does.
As hopefully anyone getting this far knows by now, we do have a Twitter feed. F versus F official, those Fs being big old capitals. Well, we'll post updates on when episodes go live, and we'll probably do some other stuff with it at some point when we get around to it. We're definitely planning stuff and not just lazy.
Yeah, there's definitely structure.
I'm just lazy. That's the thing.
Way to fucking call me out, Matt.
The mind is willing, but the flesh is weak.
Yeah.
Ugh.
That's Matt's quiet plane impression.
What was that? What was that?
Is that a quiet plane or a sensual cat? I don't know.
Day, and it's like Jaws. It just. What was that?
I really like to think that him and the Night Witches in Russia would have gone because they probably flown about the same speed. In the same.
Cool. Ivor Toms, do you want to plug yourself?
Please, after you.
I also have a Twitter, which is @randomjot, where I tweet mainly silly puns. If that's your vibe.
That is now the case now that the Bake Off has ended.
Now that the Bake Off has ended 5 weeks ago when this comes out.
Last year.
If you scroll down 5 weeks in my Twitter feed, you can find some Bake Off thoughts and comments.
Some spicy Bake Off
I also
commentary.
have a YouTube comment. No, I have a YouTube channel.
I have YouTube.
Behold,
I do have YouTube comments, but and they are on the YouTube videos, which I make occasionally. I have a video about the Grinch, which I filmed but haven't edited, but that may well be out by the time that this podcast goes to the feed. Especially considering it's.
I think it'd be 4 weeks.
Well, now that we're moving into the winter season, it feels more appropriate to put out a video about the Grinch.
Is it about?
Because I filmed it in June.
If
You'll find out what it's about.
If we push this forward to some sort of Christmas thing, I'm kind of convinced this might be the very first podcast of the new year.
Oh, maybe.
Well, the way to start the new year off with nihilism.
Happy New Year.
Terrible, and you'll
I'm
have to
happy,
deal with it.
damn it! I'm happy.
Clearly
Speaking-
not, John, because you had sleep paralysis.
I have sleep paralysis and I'm still nihilistic. Wait, that's not what we're arguing.
That's the point.
Speaking of
Didn't
nihil...
have to-
I was
did
going to say,
generally have to-
speaking... Oh, no, you go first, before I plug.
generally have to talk with a bloody sleep paralysis thing that if I open my eyes and there is just something on the side of my bed, it is getting the rounders back to the skull. Because in a room full of the swords and stuff I do just have that under the side of my bed.
Poor
John,
cop.
you should swap the swords around so you can easily draw one if something's near you. Like flip them round so the handle's at the bottom.
That's cool. No, because then that just falls and
Yeah,
stabs
you
me.
could make it so it doesn't.
Right now, they won't behead me if they fall down. I might get the Mordslag or the murder strike from the bloody crossguard, but that probably won't kill me. Anyway,
Probably.
This is lost on everyone, because no one can see John's setup.
I've literally got us two.
John is actually just building his own coat of arms above his bed, is what's going on.
Maybe. Shh. It's fine. Anyway,
I feel
Corby,
bad for
did you-
Colin when he's going to inevitably get clocked round the head when you wake up from sleep paralysis and you think he's your demon.
It's probably more like I generally woke up once and this Roman shield got standing here. I think I had some clothes top of it, and it generally looked like someone sitting there, sitting there next to my chest of drawers. One time when I woke up in my old house, and my heart sleepy state. I generally swung for it like you fucking, and then I stopped myself maybe 6 inches before my fist made contact with shield. I was like, oh, that would have been bad. But I like that even in half paralyzed with sleep, I'm still ready for a fight. I don't know why. Yeah, fucking what? Just like a drunk at 1 in the morning. No, it was bad. Anyway.
Yes, I get to actually plug things now. Holy shit. I have a Twitter. You can find me on there at GaiusNyx. That's GUIASNYX. You can also find me on both Twitch and YouTube using that. Although on Twitch it is Gaius_Nyx, and if you just put that into the YouTube search bar, you'll find me. On YouTube, I do mostly visual novel stuff at this point. I'm going through Higurashi, Chapter 1. I'll be on Chapter 2 at this point. Might even be on Chapter 3. I don't fucking know how long they are. And on Twitch, it's still Dark Souls. It doesn't get any easier. So by this time when this episode goes up, I might have actually beaten Great Wolf Sith. 'Cause that's the next boss I have to do, apparently.
Silly boy.
The Wojtek of Dark Souls.
Yeah.
I thought that was Onion Knight.
Oh, he's pretty precious.
Onion bro. For the win.
Anyway.
John,
do you want to take the
Yes, I do. My fact is that the grandson of the 10th president of the United States is still alive. I'll tell you how this works out. John Tyler, the president of the United States, 10th president, was born in 1790. He took office in 1841. He had kids in a he had a son in 1853. So quite late in life. That son then had a kid in 1924 and in 1928. So very late in life. One of them is still alive today.
So,
The other
what,
one's
almost
at-
100 years old?
Yeah, one of them did sadly
Yeah.
pass away in September. But Harrison Rufin Tyler, grandson of the 10th president of the United States, who was president in 1850, is still alive.
Damn.
Oh, 1840, sorry, yeah.
Damn.
But
That's
yeah,
a claim to fame.
it is. It's just very weird.
These images of him that I've just googled, he actually doesn't look bad for being 92.
Does he not? Oh, good for him. You will.
Joke's on you, I'm not making it to 92.
Good night, everybody.
Sweet dreams.
I hate that you sounded more like a cat girl than a plane when you said that last one.
For this episode, it still works.